Dealing with dementia is heartbreaking and hard for both patients and the families who care for them. But some Asian families here in the south say they have to fight the disease on two fronts because of a lack of understanding in their community. There's no equivalent word for dementia in many South Asian languages, so it's just translated as crazy or mad. Families who are battling the disease say as a result they can face stigma. Our reporter Minreet Kaur has been to meet one family who face such a problem.
They thought that he was mentally, I'm going to use the Punjabi word pagal. They would just react with the body language like tutting or looking the other way. My dad was diagnosed with dementia about 7 years ago, and in the last 2-3 years it got severe to the point where he needed literally 24-hour care.
There is no word for dementia in many South Asian languages. But for Nirmal Singh, the condition is all too real. He lost his 88-year-old father after a 5-year battle, not only with the disease, but with the attitudes towards it.
It's kind of just swept under the carpet. It's not brought to the fore, it's not discussed, and one of the first stumbling blocks we had was my mother. When we did have functions and events taking place, she would rather, she didn't go and we didn't take my father either.
The Alzheimer's Society says more research is needed into just how common dementia is in South Asian communities, but it says the rate is increasing, and that poses a real challenge to those on the caring industry's front line.
They still think that God has punished you if you have experienced dementia or a terminal illness.
Harry owns several care homes in Berkshire. He knows that as the elderly population grows, families will have no choice but to pay for specialist care they just won't be able to provide.
This is an illness which is global and developing and growing. The sooner you address it by availing specialist services, the better it is.
Some parts of the Asian community have almost felt reluctant to tackle dementia head-on, as it's seen a duty to look after elderly relatives who fall ill at home. But as the Asian population mirrors the whole of Britain in ageing, how long can that cultural norm remain?
I've heard stories where it affects your marriage prospects, for example. So people think, oh, it must be genetic, so we don't want to marry off our son or daughter to that family.
Some experts say there needs to be a fundamental change in the way some communities are educated about dementia.
The tools that we use to diagnose someone with dementia are not culturally appropriate. There's been a lot of well-meaning work where translators have not been trained in dementia awareness themselves, so they've used derogatory words and kind of spread misconceptions in that work.
As Nirmal knows, changing perceptions is a slow process, but he says his family will help their community tackle the misunderstandings around this debilitating disease.
My mother, she's now very much in the open and always encouraging other people to bring their family members out in the open and talk about it as normal. I see his dementia as a blessing for our family, because what it taught us as a family and how we need to portray that kind of illness in the community, it taught us a lesson.
Minreet Kaur, BBC South Today.